Hello, it's April 28th, 2021. It's SIG Node CI group, and we are all here for checking the status. So we already went through this 3 items. So I hope this PR will fix most of the serial jobs, and then we can see actual failures. Yeah, let's wait for approvers. I pinged approvers yesterday, and some of PRs already got approved, but we still have a few. Okay, so you're up, Francesca, for the next topic.
Yeah. So this is kind of related to the serial failures because I was investigating some test, the end-to-end test CPU manager. So long story short, there is a key thing which I would like to address, and this. When we run end-to-end node test, the kubelet is going to use the default system directory, var_lib kubelet, to hold the state of the managers. For example, CPU manager, memory manager. And this means we will have hidden state, and what's worse, hidden state between tests, and which is something I will rather avoid. But first, I will like to check. I will be checking with using git log and asking in the channel. But first of all, I will just start from here and asking if we agree we should try to avoid this hidden global state, and if someone in this meeting maybe already knows why we do that, could be just a historical artifact. And in general, if there are objections or concerns in moving away from this global hidden state. So this is my point.
Do you know what we store there? In this,
Yeah. We have for example, the CPU manager state, memory manager state, and also all the state files for the resource managers, which are being tested in the end-to-end node. But in general, the state of the kubelet is ending up here. And cleaning, I don't want to take too much time, but cleaning up this state directory between individual end-to-end tests, first of all, defies the purpose of having shared state. If you're going to reset anyway, why having a global shared state? And on second, this is actually harder because how the end-to-end tests are run. So you really need some careful coordination between all the moving parts. So it just seems easier to give each test, each end-to-end test, its own private, let's say, state directory. So its own end-to-end, each end-to-end test has its own private state. So you have isolation among tests. So really, unless there are objections, I'll just keep investigating this alongside all other things.
how does it affect parallel execution of tests in single end-to-end run? Do we need to clean it up between those executions, or I mean, presumably the state will not be affected if you're working with pods and different namespaces, right?
This is really node state, so yes, it will be affected.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I would be interested to learn more about state, but I don't. I mean, from a description of it, you're right. It seems that between executions, we clearly need, we definitely need to clean it up, or at least don't share.
Okay, I will keep investigating, asking people which may wrote the end-to-end test, and asking the channel, and keep pursuing. It will make also the test more reliable. For example, in other suites, in OpenShift, I'm pretty sure we delete the state file among runs, which is pretty much my point. So yeah, I will keep investigating. Yeah, go on.
Like it is for CPU manager, memory manager. I know that we anyway delete the state file during after each phase. So I'm pretty sure we already do it.
Yeah, we do try, but for CPU manager state, I'm pretty confident there is a bug which prevents the state file to be actually deleted. But I will keep investigating. It seems to me that it is it seems to me we feel it is an area worth spending some time into. So thanks, everyone.
Lana?
For this, yeah, I just wanted to flag this. So I was recently digging into, on the OpenShift side, a CPU regression in the kubelet. And when I was trying to look at what the source of it was, I was like, well, do we have any upstream scale tests? You know, could I look at like to see if this is just an OpenShift issue or if this is like upstream as well? And from what I can tell, it's a runc issue, so it should affect both upstream like Kubernetes and OpenShift, but it has been difficult to track down in part because there really is not any resource utilization tests right now for the kubelet. I asked SIG Scalability and they just said it doesn't exist. So like the API server and a bunch of other components have this, but not the kubelet. So I have filed this issue asking, maybe we can do this. I mean, still probably for a regression analysis, we'd have to go and pull pprofs and that kind of thing. But it would at least make it a little bit easier to do with like, you know, where do we bisect from and where the regression started and that kind of thing. Because in this case, there were some runc changes that I still don't have a smoking gun trying to like deal with a local up cluster pprof, but certainly we were seeing in OpenShift. And I think part of the problem is it's really hard to reproduce like on a local machine, a CPU regression, whereas like that's much easier on a large cluster that's actually running some load. So yeah, that's what I've been playing around with. You can see here, there was clearly a CPU regression in the API server. As of like whatever that date was for the, I think it's the like highest percentile. So this is the sort of cool dashboards that SIG Scalability maintains.
And SIG Scalability maintained it and they didn't notice this, or they brought it up?
I mean, I don't know. I'm not worried about the API server. That's not our problem. Yeah. But we don't, like I was like, where can I find this for kubelet? And turns out it doesn't exist.
Oh, this is not a kubelet. It's...
No, this is the API server. So one of these does not exist for kubelet, but if you click on the dropdown where it says Kube API server, there's a lot of different components that are monitored here, but not the kubelet. So I said, we should also have the kubelet. And they said, we would love that, but we don't have anybody to implement that. So please file an issue. And if you haven't seen these dashboards, previously these are the perf-dash-k8s.io. And you can view all these various stats that we collect. There's also some cluster SLOs that get collected here and different jobs and whatnot. So you can see this like, you know, API server CPU regression that I found was on like 120. But there's other stuff.
Do you know how we run this test?
I have no idea.
Okay. So I mean, if somebody will, like, I mean, first of all, I'm interested myself because performance tests are really hard. You need to reproduce them and you need to have stable environment. It's all those things. But then if somebody will take this issue, how they will, like, where they will get started?
Yeah, so I think like luckily in this, so this is the perf tests repo, which is separate from KK. There's this thing called cluster loader 2. And I would assume that there's probably a pattern already for like all of this other stuff that's scraped. It's just not set up for kubelet. I think that the perf tests are mostly maintained by Googlers. So if someone at Google wanted to pick this up, you will probably have like much better luck with trying to find people internally to help you than, for example, I would. So, because I think a lot of that team is at Google, and I think a lot of them are also in Europe. Like a lot of them are in the Warsaw office, I think. They also have an on-call in their Slack, which is, I think, a best effort on-call rotation, and they will respond to people during, I think, like Europe business hours. So does not overlap with me really being on Pacific time, but there are folks there.
Yeah, we can chat with Wojtek. Maybe they have somebody to help, but you said you already spoke with them.
Well, I just like added a question in the Slack channel, and they said they would be interested in somebody implementing this, and so I filed this bug based on what they said.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just afraid, like, whenever we add some tests, we need to make sure that we start looking at this test. Otherwise, it's just work that will degrade over time. Good. Thank you.
You know, in general, you can just make it required during the lane. I know that one of scale tests is required probably for API, and if you have regression and it failed from some reason, like you just do not pass CI.
Are you talking about like on pre-submits on PRs?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so we had, I don't know if you were there that week. Ben Elder came from SIG testing to chat with us about pre-submit tests because we needed to add one for cryo because there were a lot of things that were getting broken on cryo and then like, you know, having to get like retroactively fixed. And so I know that basically if a thing, there's a lot of issues now, especially with having removed Bazel in terms of like pre-submits being pretty expensive because they run on every single PR and every single one of those jobs runs on every single PR. And so I know that we're basically trying to move away from having more pre-submits to having less pre-submits and instead running more periodics because the periodics I think are much cheaper to run. And as long as, you know, we're responding to those failures that we're seeing there, it's somewhat of a better way to catch, because, you know, like somebody has, for example, a typo and their thing doesn't build and then all the pre-submits fail. So we don't get a lot of good signal in terms of like where tests are actually flaking. And so, yeah, anyways, I have been told that we should try to be moving away from pre-submits more and moving more towards sort of post-submits. And all of the stuff that's populating these perf scale dashboards are from post-submit jobs. So they're periodics that run.
Okay, I think periodic also will work because anyway, we have email notifications. So.
Yeah, for sure.
This is very interesting to observe, but yeah, if we can get some sort of notification, or we need to put it part of triage process.
The other thing that I learned of recently is that there's also a, if you like add to the beginning of that URL, like node-perf-dash.k8s.io, that dashboard exists, but I don't know who maintains it. I think it's basically unmaintained. Like it's kind of dead. But it exists. And so somebody pointed this out to me. I can't remember who. I think it just, yeah, like there's nothing that appears to be populating it right now. And it's got a bunch of broken images and whatnot.
But what about the job that introduced under this,
Yeah, I don't know what I don't know what
dashboard.
jobs that are populating it. I don't know what infrastructure it's running it on. I don't know who owns this dashboard. I would strongly prefer to not have a separate node dashboard and that we instead hook into all of the rest of the scalability test dashboards. Because yeah, that one is like, it's unmaintained. I don't know that it would be worth setting it up as a separate thing.
Okay. Maybe Wojtek can help. I can ping him.
That would be great. I'm glad I mentioned that. I almost forgot to add it to the agenda.
Okay. Yeah. So let's take a look at triage. I cleaned up triage column, and do I remember it? No.
No other order.
Oh, no, I see.
Yeah.
Okay, just 3. Okay, this was on Ike. What else? Yeah, Ike. Okay. To pin him. And this one is not assigned to anybody. Okay, this is legit not assigned.
This one's memory manager. Francesco, do you want to take this one? Or Artyom?
It's my PR, so
It's your
I
PR.
can
Yeah, you
take it.
can't take it. I mean, you are the two, so
I can. I don't mind.
great.
Okay, doesn't need any text. Perfect. I think we can cut it short today for testing. Unless anybody has any more topics, any questions? Yeah, we likely will cancel next week because of KubeCon.
I think we should just cancel it now
Okay.
because we know KubeCon is happening. We know it's possible someone will ask me to get up at 5 a.m. to do Q&A. So.
Okay. Some cancellation calendar as well. Yeah. Do we want to go to product feature? Just cut it short today.
I'm happy to either do a quick run through the board or cut it short. I've been a little bit behind.
Yeah, let's cut it short and try to do offline as much as possible. I did some yesterday, but not too many.
Oh, great.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you, folks. Bye.